Hello, welcome to the Birmingham Property News Show. My name's Ewen Rankin. I'm a Birmingham-based photographer, and we're here to discuss all things this week about Birmingham properties and all the things that have happened. Joining me, the gruesome twosome, the usual pair who battle it out with me each week. James Forrester from Barrows and Forrester. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. I'm actually liking that Hannah has left me a chocolate muffin and a McVitie Gold Bar. So thank you very much, Hannah. Appreciate it.
She loves you, buddy.
I'll give Gold Dust a little tagging now saying thank you. So,
yes, do that. She's done a webinar this morning. She's done a 2-hour webinar on customer value.
Oh, fantastic!
And, it was really good. She was brilliant. She held the camera really well. So
better than me.
No, you're good, mate. You're good. Someone else who's good. Krish, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. You and yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. We missed you last week. Or was it the week before?
No, it was last week.
Last week.
Oh, yeah, I heard saw it was a good show though.
I had to deal with him all by myself. The Brexit. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I was thinking that it's the Brexit show, but it's not. It's the Birmingham Property News Show. But starting us off this week, we are going to be talking. I'm sorry to say. We are going to be talking Brexit because James has written an interesting article, a very good one. I haven't actually read it.
Have you read it?
I have read it, yes.
Do you like it?
I did. It was well written, mate.
It's
and
it's
I'm
long.
not sucking up.
It's long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's yes, but it's not as long as it could have been. It's not 3,000 words or anything like that. The effect of Brexit on local property markets here in Birmingham. It's a big topic. I know we keep coming back to it, but we have got to really keep covering this, haven't we? Because it is such a big impact, and coming up to the end of the month when it really hits us hard, then we need to know.
Well, let's be honest, even for the next 23 days, we're going to be inundated, everything to do with Brexit. So I thought, well, I may as well join in because what more could we be sick of hearing about is Brexit? So I thought, well, let's get more involved in Brexit. But I think it is an important point because, and good evening, everyone, before I go off one. But if we have to look at it, it's all about what's going on in the Birmingham, and this is specifically for Birmingham city centre property, and what's happening in 2018 and really what the future is for 2019. And if you remember, for those who watch the show or do read the blogs, get on the birminghampropertynews.co.uk, a few weeks ago, I suggested that the property values in the city centre of Birmingham would be between about 1.1 to 1.9% different by the end of the year. And it might surprise people that, to be honest, Brexit, the big bad B word, hasn't really had the effect on the Birmingham property market that most would have feared at the very start of 2018. So that's a good thing.
So I mean, they are slightly down on the stats that you've got towards the end of last year. They were well up at the start of the year, but
yes.
So the Brexit decision was 2016, wasn't it? 2017.
Yeah, 23rd of Jan.
Yeah. So
I believe 23rd.
So the Brexit issue was very much closing in at the start of the year as well as so. That hasn't affected the start of the year, but then it does decline from the summer onwards. Well,
I think, it would have done because obviously it's getting more intense now, isn't it, with the 29th of March 2019 looming, altogether. But I think, you have to look at it that let's look at this Brexit scenario. That's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of estate agents out there. A lot of property people are just like, this is bad, Brexit, everything, let's just give up, etc. If you want to give up and you want to sell your business, give me a call. I'm more than happy to come and have a look at it. It's not doom and gloom. That's the main thing. People are still out there and they are buying property.
Yeah.
If you are getting it right and you are having it marketed correctly, you are having the right property valuation attached to it. And as I say, and the marketing is right with that and the right, and that comes down to not just descriptions, but pricing strategy, the photographs, where it goes, the type of buyers, everything, then you're still going to do very well and people are still buying. And I think that's the key message I'm trying to get across here is that, when I've looked at all the figures and I've gone, obviously you've read it, I've gone right back as well to credit crunch years, 2008, 2009 and 2010.
Yeah.
And it can be seen that the property transactions are still up. And that's one of the big things about this now is that people are, properties can go up and down, but if you want to move, you're going to move. And that's what you have to look at. If you're an investor, you're going to try and take advantage of it. You're going to try and get the best deal possible. If you're looking for a buy-to-let, you want the best yields possible. You're buying for yourself, or you're buying for a secondary school, and you want to try and get in the catchment area. Then you need to be getting, you need to be getting into it. And if you're getting in a repressed market, the gap between what yours is worth and what you might be buying might be slightly lower. So it means you'd be better off.
Yeah.
So in other words, sell and buy. This is the perfect time to be selling a home and buying a new one.
What's the influence of the price of sterling, etc., on the way that the housing market goes? Because sterling's still pretty poor, isn't it, in terms of the Brexit issue?
Well, it is, but it depends where you're looking at it from. For us UK people, it's terrible, isn't it? If we're going to go on holiday in the summer, then the pound's relatively weak against most currencies that the main countries that we go to. But for international buyers who are looking to buy, for second homes, or they're looking to buy for buy-to-let purposes, perfect timing. They want to be buying while the pound's weak.
Mm.
So you've got to look at it. The FX markets are very, they're very impulse, aren't they? They react very quickly on, what market conditions are. So yes, it does affect us on holidays and obviously exports, etc. But when it comes to domestic house prices, it doesn't have the difference, because at the end of it, you can't just now look at the UK and go, right, if you look at the latest house reports that came out, the UK was still up by 2.9% on the latest house trackers. But when you bring that down into certain locations, Birmingham still over 5%, Newcastle over 5%, Manchester over 5%. Leicester again. Leicester was touching 6%. So you've got areas there that are just outperforming, other parts of the UK, and it all comes down to geographical locations and what the demand is and the supply of property in that area.
Chris, anything to weigh in there?
It's obviously some fantastic points there from James. Just wanted to touch on a point there that you mentioned about people still looking to buy and sell. We're still getting inquiries through, no matter what Brexit, whatever the outcome is, like you mentioned, people still want to sell, people still want to buy. If you're expanding, or if you want a bigger house, or, you've had another child and you need a bigger property, people are still going to be looking. No matter what happens with Brexit, they're still going to need a bigger property. Or if they want to downsize, they're still going to want to downsize. So I think, just to add on that, I think it's completely right that people still do want to sell and also want to buy properties.
What about things like price of food and so on? How does that really influence? Because that is quite a big issue for a lot of families, isn't it? The mortgage costs have gone higher.
Well, the mortgage costs haven't gone higher.
Relative. Sorry, not the mortgage costs. What I meant was their available income to spend on a mortgage has depreciated.
Yeah, when it comes down to, physical cash, well, it depends which reports you read, isn't it? Some people are better off at the moment, some people are not. I think the difference is when you come down to, looking to buy a house and between the cost of groceries, look, the main thing is everyone should have enough, cash flow, if it's help or assistance from the government or just general, spending to make sure that they're able to feed themselves without a shadow of a doubt. I think that has to come first. But when you're looking at buying a house, of course, it's such a much bigger transaction, that it's a different conversation altogether. I think more than anything else, from that. And I think the biggest fundamental problem here with Brexit, I think everyone's wrapped up on scare stories, positive. Well, I don't think there is any positive stories going out at the moment, but it's all fear factor from both sides. Let's cut all the rubbish out, And this is what I do when I'm looking at it, and you think, right, I could be pulled into every political bit, and who do I listen to more? But you have to look at the fundamental problems to break down where you think you're going to go. And once you get around that, it's a very clear situation. Simply put, Birmingham city centre has not had enough homes built since the 1980s. We're talking over 30 years of lack of house building. And I don't say that lightly. If you come into Birmingham city centre at the moment, there's cranes going everywhere. But we're still behind. We're still behind the likes of Manchester. I think we're just only a couple of, for new buildings going up in the city centre, we're behind Manchester. We're only a couple ahead of Leeds, which is further up north. And Birmingham gets classed as one of the big powerhouses for the outside of London altogether. So when you think there's just been such a lack of house building since the 1980s, the population has grown and grown and grown, that, we need more homes. And don't forget, there was back in 2014, tougher mortgage rules came into place as well. So when you actually put all that together, it's all the issues are going to determine, it's not exciting, is it? Let's be honest. But the long-term look for Birmingham is that regardless of the Brexit issue over the last few years, we still need more property, and the long-term property values across the city, constrained by earnings. Don't forget, I talked about that the other week as well, about earnings actually happening in the city. And long-term prices, we're going to see no more than 2.5% to 4% increase per year. But we're still going to see increase in property values. And that's the thing. People are going to sit and go, I might wait. That's absolutely fine. Everyone has their own prerogative. But you're probably going to pay more. You're still going to pay more. This is the time now to be doing something.
I think there's a vibrancy that's gone out of the economy as well at the moment, because people are genuinely profiteering on the scaremongering of Brexit. People are inflating prices on things that actually haven't changed in terms of their raw value or import value in the slightest.
Absolutely. Well, look, Tesla even have reduced their prices, haven't they? So it's things must be terrible if Elon Musk's reduced his price, or he's had a big payoff for his spaceship getting to the touchdown the International Space Station. But yeah, no, I think the difference is, the main question is basically what we're asking, isn't it, with Brexit? Is, and it's one I'm being asked from many Birmingham city centre landlords and home buyers, is should I wait to buy or not? And my answer is very, very simple. You shouldn't be thinking of what's happening down in Westminster, Brussels, Irish backstop, China, Donald, or was it the Donald? And you've got to be, you've got to be looking at your personal circumstances. You need to be asking the questions. Do I need to get my child in that school? Do I need that secondary school, for example? Do I need to get into the catchment area? Do I need the extra bedroom because, we're about to have another baby, and we need a bigger house now? These are the things that people need to be asking themselves. And if the answer is yes, and I think that, to be honest, a few people have probably held back when, to see what's actually finally happening, but they've got to start looking now. And I think that's the difference. Just postponing stuff until there's a better clarity on the situation isn't going to stop your issue.
That really does sound like good advice. I'm sorry, I'm not taking the mickey. That's
Thank you.
No, that's not me saying that's the first time you said anything sensible, mate.
Oh, right, thanks very much. Yeah. I've only been doing this for weeks, and that's the first thing I've said sensible. But it's true, and I'm really passionate about this.
No, I think you're right there.
As you know, I'm a governor of a high school, Q3 Langley, and it's one of them things that I have when, we have the new intakes and we open up, for when people have got into the high school. What we then see is later in the year, people are coming to start looking at the high school, and I'll get asked questions. How do I get my child in? I think I live outside the catchment area. I think what I'll do is I'll just buy a house within the catchment area to give me the best chance to get my child into school.
Yeah.
And that, to be honest, for me, and having kids myself, to give my kids the best start, and if it was a school I really wanted them to get in, then I would move.
You're working on what you can control there, aren't you? That's the key.
Exactly. But that's down to me, and I can be in control of that more than anything else, and not worrying about this might happen, that might happen, this might happen. People who wait typically don't get anywhere. The ones who act, and if they act correctly, and they, as I say, strip all the rubbish out, and I was going to say the bad word there, but I'm glad I stopped because I'm going to get a bit passionate about
I've got a
this.
bleep machine, but I'd rather not.
It's, just strip out all the rubbish, get down to it. Schools, bedroom. Do you need to downsize? Are you in a 5-bedroom house and you're an elderly couple? And you're thinking, you know what? I just need a 2-bedroom apartment now. Or a 2-bedroom bungalow. I don't need this big house. It's too much for me. Don't wait. Start acting. Because if people want your house, they're going to pay the price for it.
Yeah.
And prices are not going down. Let's look at this with Brexit. The prices in the areas we're talking about, Birmingham city centre, are not going down.
Yeah. Good point.
Thank you. No more Brexit today, please.
No, we're done with Brexit. Taking us and lightly moving us into a far better place is some advice from the ever-lovely Tess on mortgages.
Hi James, how you doing? Hope you're both well. I'm just at Asda. You can see the little trolley bay over there. Hope you're both well. This week I want to report on Sainsbury's. They've released a new product range. They're on 2 years fixed terms at 90% loan to value, and the rate is 2.29%. That includes no product fees, £500 cashback or fee-assisted legals. Or you can have that very same product and pay a 995% arrangement fee, and you get that at 2.04%. Again, that's with £500 cashback or fee-assisted legals. Also, on the buy-to-let range, you can have a buy-to-let mortgage at 75% loan-to-value. That's at 1.85%. That's with a £995 product fee up front and £250 cashback. I hope you both have a lovely week, and thank you again for letting me come on the Birmingham Property Show. See you later, bye.
I love that's the best video she's done so far. I love the fact that she's plugging Sainsbury's products but doing it from an Asda car park to show just a little bit of rebellion.
Yeah, it's quite clever, isn't it?
I thought it was well done. Brilliantly done. Well done, Tess. So there you go, Sainsbury's mortgage deals that are available to you as of now. Right, second story then. 1,000 sales per week aided by the Help to Buy scheme. I think I knew what the Help to Buy scheme was, but just to be clear, what's the Help to Buy scheme? Krish?
So the Help to Buy scheme is a government scheme to help first-time buyers to get onto the property ladder altogether. So you can put as little as a 5% deposit down, available, and then the government will top that up to 25%. Now, naturally, of course, they still have to pay that back, but it helps them to get, obviously, onto the property ladder, which is a fantastic scheme.
I'm going to say, it does sound like a really great scheme. What's the uptake been like, and has the government got any credit for it?
Yes and no is probably the right answer. I think, there's a worry that is it being overinflated? Persimmons have just been in the news lately, haven't they? Major profits all coming from Help to Buy. So it's, are people capitalising on it more than what they should be? Because the whole point of Help to Buy is to help people buy typically their first property more, but it's not first time buy, it's Help to Buy now, but it's to help people get onto the property ladder. If you've got people then, look, businesses have to make a profit, otherwise it ain't going to happen. But I think when the profits are extortionate, you do have to start questioning, what's going on really. But this just shows, doesn't it, 1,000 sales a week, just on Help to Buy. That just shows you
that's good.
That it's great. But we have to look at it a little bit more. If we're looking at, let's look at our area more, because that's 1,000 across the UK. The West Midlands, we're talking, where are we?
It's 100-ish.
100. Around 100 a week. So 400 a month going on to the Help to Buy scheme.
Well, that's 10% as well. As the pro rata, that's a good percentage for the region.
Absolutely. It's absolutely fantastic to see people are getting on the property ladder. Obviously aided by the 20%, government help. And there is a couple of different schemes, the 20%, you've got your ISA, etc. as well. I won't go into detail on it. I think the worry is, of course, yes, there's a big increase on first-time buyers, but the worry is, why did I have to go on to Help to Buy in the first place? Is it because it's just the 5%, they only have to save the 5%, and they're still accessing the 75% mortgages because they're obviously getting the 20% government grant in a way. And that's what it's coming down to. It's little money down, and that's allowing people to get onto the housing ladder. Is this not the case? And that should be highlighting to the mortgage companies, look, let's help out first-time buyers a lot more here.
Yeah, I mean, when I bought my property that I'm currently in, it was great because I could get a 95% mortgage without it batting an eyelid. There was tons of offers around, and 97 I'm going back to. And also, because my property was 1/5 of its current value, it meant that I could get a loan for the 5% and not really feel too badly about it because it wasn't a huge amount of money against the total value of the property. And you could lend 100% just by two vicarious means, and that was it.
Yeah, but
that's gone. That's just because you can't get a loan for the best part of 50 grand for getting yourself up to sort of 25%.
Exactly, and I think obviously there's a worry, isn't there, of the Northern Rock again, of 110% mortgages, etc. And I think we touched on it a few weeks back about 100% mortgage being out there, but certain amount of capital has to be tied up while that's going ahead. But I think it's great that we're seeing, these schemes, but Help to Buy will come to an end soon as well. And what's going to happen to all these buyers who need that financial assistance? Is there Is there another product going to be coming out to help? Or is it the case of that's it and things are going to dry up again? And, there's a never ending, even if we have just spoke about the Brexit part, and I keep saying, for Birmingham city centre alone, there's not been enough houses built since the 1980s.
Yeah.
And a good percentage of properties being built in the city centre in Birmingham, Help to Buy is not even available on them.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Krish, what's the footfall of people coming into you who are first-time buyers, and do you guide them towards Help to Buy, or is there a pitfall that you try and...
Yeah, I mean, we did, we had quite a number of first-time buyers, especially looking for the Help to Buy scheme sort of last year. This year hasn't been that many. There are still people looking out there, but like James was mentioning there, a point that I wanted to touch on is obviously within the city centre, obviously a lot of these new build off-plan developments don't offer Help to Buy. Now, if the property prices are still increasing, then what happens to them? If they want to live in and around the city centre, and they've got no means of able to get that help with the finance on the schemes, then that sort of leaves them out, and they have to, go out further afield and sort of look there. So, I mean, with the new build and the off-plan developments, I think it should be a scheme that's attached to them to help. Because people, sort of my age, around the mid to late 20s, they want to be within the vibrancy of the city centres. They want to be in and around the mix of things, with the bars and the restaurants. They don't want to be 30, 40 minutes outside, especially if they're working in the city centre. So I think, they should be opening it up to them. But like James said, we don't know how long, if there is going to be another scheme or not that's going to be available for them to sort of help them to buy their first property.
Well, I think what's interesting is 81% of the purchases in England, so just England alone, have been to first-time buyers. Oh. It just shows, isn't it, that the housing market is completely broken, and it's not going to get fixed.
But the scheme is clearly working. So why is there an end in sight to it? Is it just because there isn't enough money, or?
I think that's what it'll probably come down to. But it was going to end before, and they recreated it. So you could find that actually they'll end up recreating this, because don't forget they're still earning money from stamp duty from the buyers as well. So if all of a sudden if you half that, if all of a sudden it was 40% of purchases dropped off, that's going to be a huge hole for the Treasury to fill on stamp duty intake as well. And I just think it shows that, if you look at the average price now outside of London, so outside of London, it's It's 262,000 now across England. Is the average first-time buyer property aided by Help to Buy price. In London, it's just under £460,000, and that's incredible.
Yeah, because it's a garage.
Well, even at let's look at this. Even at 262,000. That's incredible still for a first-time buyer. Now, what was your first property, Ewen? How much did that cost you?
80
grand.
Wow.
It just shows, doesn't it?
Well, my first ever property was
£2.
Was 16,000.
Really?
My first ever property was a flat, 2-bedroom flat, and it was 16,750, and we talked them down from 16,950.
You wouldn't even get a parking space in an off-plan new build development for that these days.
Doesn't cover the rent on a commercial property in Birmingham.
But it does. But it just shows, doesn't it? It just shows how broken the housing market is in general. Younger people need help to get on the ladder. That's without. You can tell from the stats we're just mentioning here. It's apparent that if you take it away, and if there's nothing to replace this, and if developers are not, because don't forget, most Help to Buy are on developers. So your likes of Persimmons, Taylor Wimpey's, Bovis, etc. I'm sure I've missed other ones out. You've got, in Birmingham itself, I know Elevate Property Group, they have properties in the city centre that you get on Help to Buy. So certainly give them guys a call, because they're one of the only ones really I know in Birmingham city centre that you can buy a property on the Help to Buy. I know Barrows is starting off a new development just coming out on the A38, and they're going to be on Help to Buy as well. A bits around Park Central, but there's not many. And I think you find it more on the suburban areas and on the big estates. And you have to look at it that Help to Buy doesn't always mean that everyone's in relationships with 2 kids and a dog and needs a 4-bedroom house.
I think the other thing as well is the advice I would give is stretch yourself, because when I first got on the property ladder, I didn't stretch myself. I bought what I could afford and still be comfortable and still live and still have a social life, because it was a flat and I was on my own. And I made a good deal of money out of selling that. And then I didn't stretch myself to the next property. And when I did get married and bought a place with my wife, we didn't stretch ourselves, but it was as much as we could afford at the time. We could have gone a little bit higher, but we didn't. And I regretted not stretching myself before, because I would have got a far better property when I moved in with my wife.
Yeah, I think, it's a good point. I think you've got to stretch yourself, but within, obviously, affordability
but
reasons.
Your mortgage
as well.
is always going to get easier. It's always going to get easier. You're always going to get a headroom on your property in terms of value. So you'll always get more lending if you want it for improvements and that kind of stuff. So, that stretching yourself to start with, that gets easier and easier and easier. And you might have a couple of years where you can't afford a beer or you can't go out too often.
Well, that's my point when I'm coming in here, because
that'll go.
So obviously you do see this, and you see the difference where, when people obviously are moving in, they still want to carry on the lifestyle, that they've been living. And you've got to be a bit careful, but you don't want to give all of it up, because then not all of a sudden the whole experience of buying the house, moving in together.
Yeah, you don't want to be trapped.
Yeah, well, you'll start to switch off a little bit. So you still want to have that headroom, but yeah, absolutely. If you're going to buy a house and you're buying something, you think, great, I want to add a conservatory to it, or I want to add the extra bedroom, etc., and you're able to, then great. If you want to do the garden up lovely, then absolutely fantastic. Because obviously, but you've also got to be looking at, when you're buying a house now, how long you're going to be staying there for, because I'll come across people who'll go, yeah, I bought it, I'm only staying here for 3 years. And they want the property to have gone up 50, 60 grand in 3 years. It just ain't going to happen. You should be buying a house medium to long-term purposes, and buying it within a reason. If you think cleverer to begin with when you're buying, and look around, it's everything I say to first-time buyers. They go, I need to live here. Well, why? Well, because it's what I'm used to. It's 10 minutes away from my job. Okay, but if you went 20 minutes away, look at the difference of what you can now choose. And sometimes you've got to be that bit more flexible to make sure that you're getting bang for buck, on your money. You're close to all the transport routes as well. That's a very key thing as well, especially for property prices increasing anyway. If you're close to the major transport routes, you'll definitely do well. And also, what are you buying for? Is it the case that you're starting a family? Do you have a family already? You're moving into a family area? All these things are different. But don't forget, for Help to Buy, we're talking again about big estates that we see building. What about people who don't want to move out of the city? They love the apartment. There's nothing the matter with city centre living in the apartment.
If you're single, I think city centre living's great.
But even if you're in a couple, and there's young families who want to stay in the city centre, they do not want to move out of the city centre because everything's on the doorstep for them. If you've got a little 2-year-old, you don't always want to be further away. It might be convenient for everything to be on the doorstep as well. Don't forget, we're an international community in Birmingham now.
Yeah, I think the transport links is a big part of that though as well. I've got a friend in London who lives in Archway, and him and his family, every Sunday they're down to the tube, and they're in, because the kids travel free on the tube, they're into the city centre, and they have a great time in the middle of London. They do the parks and that kind of stuff. It costs them nothing, and they just come back again. And that's in Birmingham, you tend to have to drive to somewhere from the outlying areas, certainly that kind of distance, 7 miles out from city centre.
Yeah, and I think so. And I think, you've also got to look at it, it could Help to Buy be getting used a lot more better than what it is.
Yeah.
So, for example, yes, it's great when it's going to some of the big parcels of land, and you're seeing the huge estates being built. But like I mentioned, not everyone wants a 3-4 bedroom home. Yeah, but let's look at, and I think it's one that touches me. I'm very pro independent shops, so go independent, as well as your chains, spread the love. But look at the high streets that are dying at the moment as well. Could Help to Buy be used somehow to shape high streets in the future, get more people living around the high streets, creating that more villagey feel, which may rejuvenate them as well.
Yeah, no, good point. And on that note of talking about keeping the life and staying close to the bars and entertainment, Chris, your story, Birmingham's getting a Coyote Ugly bar.
He's already laughing before we've even started.
This is going to be a great conversation piece, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's. I think it's great. I think it's a fantastic idea.
I absolutely bet you do.
I can't get over how the fact that this is a bar chain, isn't it? It's not unsuccessful.
Yeah. It's worldwide. I think 28 they've got worldwide. It'll be the 5th one in the UK as well. They've got others in, I think it's Cardiff was the first one in 2016, Liverpool, Manchester, Swansea, and soon to be Birmingham as well.
But you can't get over the fact they've got a successful pub chain from possibly one of the worst films ever made. Or is it the other way around? Was the film made about the bars?
Yeah, I think that was the way forward, wasn't it?
Oh mate, it's a dead film. I mean, it's interesting. They've referenced it in the article, and they said film starring Tyra Banks and John Goodman, and they've forgotten that actually I had to go on to IMDb. There's a woman named Piper Perabo who was actually the star of the movie.
Yeah. Because I read that as well, and I saw Tyra, and I was thinking I don't really remember her being the main actress in the film.
No, but yeah, I'm not going. We're not going there. No, I'm not going there.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. It's great for Birmingham, I think. Again, it's another venue which is going to be added. You know, you've got all the new restaurants that are being opened up. You've got the new tattoo restaurant that opened up in February, I think it was last month, and now another one to add to the collection. So,
but is it too much? Well, actually, before I get to that,
I want to agree with you there, because that was the thing, is that they've tried to do this once before and they got into a franchising issue with it.
Yeah.
But also...
Was that the same owners, though?
No.
I don't think it was. I think they just wanted to copy the name, and
That's
basically
right.
they were threatened because they wanted to use the Coyote Ugly brand, didn't they?
But there was a Hooters in Birmingham for a while, and it was crap. It never got...
Was there?
It was nothing like Hooters for a start, and it died a death. There was no one went there. Every time I'd gone past it, there was no one ever in. It was an awful place. It was nowhere near the Hooters experience of America, and I just don't know if that kind of bar really suits the town. Yeah.
Well, I don't think if it suits the town. I think, does it suit our culture?
And generally in the UK, probably no. London, maybe you can get away with
And
it.
it's one of them. It's one of them that you have to go on holiday to experience it. And what's on holiday sort of conversation.
Yeah, and Hooters is great because you go once and it's a different experience. You don't go again, but you're not going to go Hooters every week, are you? I'm sorry for anyone that listens in America who does go to Hooters every week, but it's not that kind of place.
Well, Hooters have an airline. I don't know if they still did, but they used to have an airline once upon a time as well. You could get flights to the Caribbean from America on. I thought that was great.
I'm not going to make a comment about the uniforms.
Coming from Birmingham, Alabama, going straight into the Bahamas, yeah, great. But yeah, I'm just wondering, like Krish, obviously, you're young, so you're out and about and everything as well. And you look around and you just start to wonder, is there too much? Like, I had to go into town today for a meeting, and it was funny. I was thinking of a topic, and I thought, is it worth talking about different types of restaurants as well? That are coming into the city, because obviously we've got the Oyster Bar about to open soon. We've had the Ivy open soon as well. And when you start to look around, you think, great, some nice independence. And as I was walking up through Birmingham, you had Aston Martins, McLarens, Porsches all parked up and everything. And then you've got the other tail of the city where, you've got people going into like a 99p baguette shop and are struggling to pay for the 99p. And it is a tale of two cities. And you just think, is it a gimmick? Do we actually need this? Is it good for the city? Or is it going to bring it down? Should this be really is this aimed really at the student market? Where actually the student market is starting to change. The student market is not what it used to be 10 years ago, going out and, getting drunk and, trying to do your studies next day. The students now are coming to work, and there are a lot of them are more health conscious. They're more into their juice bars and, sort of quirky coffee shops and everything as well. And on this one, I'm just not sure. Listen, I'm up for the hot tubs, events, because it's a one-off event. It's a bit of fun. It's good. But this, I just don't know. Yes, the film was good. It was good to watch. Everyone, not on that seedy points, but, it had a bit of a story to it.
There was nothing seedy about it.
And all that lot. But let's be honest, the bar's not going to be getting set alight and people are jumping over it and pouring the drinks from the bottle in it because, one, you're not allowed under UK law. So I think you look at it and you think, in America, they'll be getting away with it and it'll be amazing. Obviously, it's already in the UK, but I'm sure it's a more watered down version. What's wrong just going to your local Wetherspoons?
At the start of the story, it does say they've already got Cardiff, Liverpool, Manchester and Swansea. And apart from Swansea, because I'm not sure about that one, Cardiff, Liverpool, Manchester have got big student communities. Cardiff especially.
Yeah, they've all got. Yeah, so that's what they're aiming at. Are they going head to head with the Walkabout brand? Is that what they're looking to do?
Potentially, yeah, I think so. But you got to be careful as well, because a lot of the new American restaurants as well, some of them aren't even staying afloat. You know, they're having to be closed down as well. So
McDonald's is doing really well.
You make a valid point. not McDonald's.
But we had Tim Hortons, haven't we?
Place, but they can't get the, you know, it's not the right type of area for them to attract the type of clientele that they want.
Is this where this is going, in Brindley Place?
No, Broad Street, I think.
Yeah. You can imagine where it's. I'm trying to think where it would go on Broad Street. Then, as it said.
No,
they haven't got premises yet.
Revealed yet. The exact.
And I think this is my worry now. So if you look at it, so Broad Street obviously now is going to have the tram going up it. You know, great. You know, local connection. It's going to go all the way up to 5 ways. You know, in the evening, are we going to just see trouble? Trams being smashed. Then they're off. You know, then they're off the rails. You know, which is then going to affect everyone on a day-to-day basis going to work. You know, and is Broad Street going to go too trashy here?
Is Broad Street, because I think Broad Street is very heavily policed, and I don't think there's as much trouble up there as there used to be by a long way.
There's a lot of trouble.
There's still
a lot of trouble. Yeah,
right.
It's reported. I'm not saying I know, but it's as in I'm there, but it's reported in the papers most week that there's been trouble late on at night, and you know, yeah, you're going to get that in any city, aren't you? We're a major city centre here in Birmingham. But you do just wonder, is Broad Street just getting that reputation of, well, if you want to go out for a night out and get drunk, well, that's where you're going, and that's it. And everyone else will go to all the different venues that we've got to offer in the city. And Broad Street could all of a sudden get quite singled out all of a sudden, and it's not going to get everyone with different backgrounds going to it.
I love the fact they've called it the Golden Mile of bars and clubs. Yeah. Someone needs to get a tape measure out, because I'm pretty sure...
No gold last time I checked.
It's not gold, that's for sure, and I don't think it's even a mile. It's even doing both sides together.
But look, it's going to corner one part of the market, isn't it? You know, if it's keeping the students happy. But like I said, I think the student market's changing, you know, dramatically. And you know, I know from speaking to people and students that we help with on rentals, you know, they want to be close to everything. They want to be walking distance to everything, but you know what they're actually saying is one of the last things on them is being close to bars now, and these, you know, they're more bothered about fast internet, you know, and their internet connection into the buildings than what's going on in the local bar, because they'll just come and go.
Yeah. This show and every week is sponsored by Barrows and Forrester, a fantastic property group in the middle of Birmingham in the Jewellery Quarter, doing sales and lettings. Don't you, Krish?
Yeah.
I don't know why I do this bit, because it's.
You sounded a bit hesitant, like you forgot there.
No, so did you.
If you'd like to get in touch with them, go to barrowsandforrester.co.uk, and you can get in touch with them. There's a helpful little chat box that pops up where you can interact with Krishan and James live if you need to. They're definitely the people to go and see. And if you'd like to sponsor this show, and it's not always down to Barrows and Forrester, then you can get in touch with info at birminghampropertynews.co.uk. And if you'd like to come on the show as well, because you're something to do with property in any way, whether it's I don't know, energy certificates, or you're a developer or anything like that, get in touch with us at the same address, and you can come along too. Where can everyone get hold of you, chaps? Krish?
You can contact me on the office number, which is 0121 296 2600, or feel free to email me at kp@barrowsandforrester.co.uk.
Excellent. And James, where can everyone get you?
Yeah, give me a call, 0121 296 2600, or alternatively, get onto the blog where if you've missed parts of the show tonight, it'll be put on, and you can read all my blog articles all about the Birmingham property market at birminghampropertynews.co.uk.
My name's Ewen Rankin. Get me at 12 SpaceMedia on the Twitters and the Instagrams and that kind of stuff, or you can follow me for me personal rantings at Ewen Rankin as well as. We'll be back again next week on Wednesday with 3 more great topics to talk about with Birmingham Property News. Get in touch if you'd like to get involved. Great weekend.